So you've got a great idea. How do you turn that into a profitable empire? It's one of the biggest questions in business, right? Do you lock it down, keep all the profits for yourself, or do you share it to make the whole market bigger? Well, the story of Intel's rise gives us an incredible playbook for answering that exact question.
See, every innovator faces this classic dilemma. On one side, you can protect your idea. Build a fortress, block all your competitors, and try to grab every single dollar. On the other side, you can diffuse it, open the gates, let other people build on your idea, and create an industry standard. The first move maximizes your slice of the pie. The second one maximizes the size of the pie itself. So what's the right play? To figure that out, let's go back in time and see exactly how Intel tackled this. We're going to break their whole strategy down into 3 phases, and phase 1 was all about one thing: winning the standard.
Okay, so picture this. It's the dawn of the personal computer. Intel is this innovative but kind of small company, mostly known for making memory chips. But they've got these new 16-bit microprocessors that are showing a ton of promise. And at the exact same time, the absolute titan of the industry, IBM, decides it needs to get into the PC game, and it needs a brain for its new machine. The stakes? Well, they couldn't be higher.
So, let's put you in the CEO's chair for a second. IBM comes knocking and says, "Hey, we love your 8088 chip. We want it for our PC." This is the biggest deal in your company's history, and it's a big but, they say, "We can't rely on just one supplier. You have to license your technology to your direct competitors so they can make it too." What do you do? I mean, are you just going to give away your golden goose? Intel made a totally radical choice. They said yes, and they didn't just license it to one company. They eventually licensed the architecture to 12 other firms, including their #1 rival, AMD. Now, this sounds completely insane, right? Like just handing over the keys to the kingdom. But it was actually a brilliant strategic move, and it was all driven by a super powerful economic principle. And that principle is called network externalities. It sounds all academic, but it's a really simple idea. The more people use something, the more valuable it becomes for everyone. Think about it. The first person with a telephone? Pretty useless. But a billion people with phones? Now you've got a powerful network. Intel realized the exact same thing was true for microprocessors. So here's how that genius move played out in the real world. By licensing the tech, Intel made sure there were tons of chips available, which drove prices down for PC makers. That low price, plus a guaranteed supply from all these different companies, made Intel's x86 architecture the safe, obvious choice. So then software developers flocked to write programs for it, which in turn made more customers want to buy PCs with that chip inside. It was this perfect, positive feedback loop that just kept spinning faster and faster. And man, did it work. By the late 80s, more than 80% of PCs in the US were IBM compatibles, all running on that x86 architecture. See, Intel sacrificed an exclusive monopoly in the short term to become the undisputed king of a massive new market. Phase 1, complete. All right, on to phase 2. Because once Intel owned the standard, the whole game changed. They had opened the gates and created this huge kingdom. Now, it was time to build the fortress walls. And this shift was not subtle at all. After using openness to win the market, Intel did a complete 180 and pivoted to a strategy of aggressive protection to dominate it. The era of friendly cooperation? Yeah, that was over. What's really wild is just how fast and aggressively they changed. In '85, they bet the whole company on microprocessors. Just a year later, they sued a rival to establish that their microcode was copyrightable, a huge new legal barrier. Then they went after AMD for using the 386 name and launched that legendary Intel Inside campaign, building a brand directly with us, the consumers. This little phrase from the source material just captures the new reality perfectly. Even if Intel didn't win every lawsuit, they created this powerful, chilling effect. Now competitors had to think about the massive cost and time and risk of a legal battle with Intel. It became this invisible wall around their business. So these were the walls of their new fortress. They used lawsuits to tie up rivals in court. They slammed the door on licensing their new chips, like the 386. They built that powerhouse brand that people would pay more for. They started using trademarked names like Pentium that no one else could legally copy, and they just poured money into R&D to stay way ahead of the curve. The open field had officially become a walled garden. But the strategy didn't stop there. As Intel's dominance became absolute, it had to evolve again into a third and much more sophisticated phase. They had to learn how to master the mix of being both open and closed. Because see, being the king brings new responsibilities. To keep growing, Intel couldn't just protect its core business. It had to make sure the entire PC ecosystem kept thriving. A stagnant market means stagnant sales, even if you're a monopoly. And that required a much more nuanced approach than just building walls.
And this is that new balancing act right here. Look at what they protected: the crown jewels, the core chip patents, that super valuable Pentium trademark, their secret manufacturing processes. But then look at what they shared. They literally gave away the technology for the AGP graphics port for free. They shared technical data with developers and made strategic deals with partners. Which, of course, brings up the obvious question. After fighting so hard to build this fortress, why on earth would you start giving valuable tech away? Why not try to squeeze every last penny out of everything you've invented?
And here's the brilliant answer. By giving away the AGP port standard, they made sure computer graphics could keep getting better. And better graphics meant new software and cooler games, which in turn required, you guessed it, more powerful microprocessors. By strategically sharing some of their toys, Intel grew the whole kingdom, which drove demand for the one thing they fiercely protected and made all their money on.
So, when you zoom out from this amazing story, you start to see this really powerful model emerge. It's what the source material calls the IPR mix model. Intel's journey wasn't just a string of lucky breaks. No, it was a deliberate, three-phase strategy that changed based on where they were in the market and what they wanted to achieve. And from all this, we can pull out three crucial lessons for anyone thinking about innovation today. First, a purely open or a purely closed strategy is almost never the right answer. A smart mix of both, where you protect some things and you share others, is way more powerful. Second, and this is maybe the most critical insight of all, the right mix isn't static. It has to change. When you're trying to create a market, you lean open. When you're trying to dominate a market you've already won, you lean closed. And when you're trying to sustain that market, you gotta find a sophisticated balance between the two. And third, all the tools for managing this stuff: patents, copyrights, trademarks, even just good old-fashioned secrecy. They shouldn't be thought of as separate things. They're a complementary toolkit. You have to use them together in different combinations to achieve your goals at each phase. So, the final question is really for you. Think about your own project, your business, your idea. Right now, in this moment, what's your primary goal? Are you in the phase of trying to win a standard, where maybe you need to be more open? Or are you in the phase of defending a fortress that you've already built? The answer to that question, it determines everything.